Today, we go deep into how leveraging Amazon's best data points, search query performance, can help increase your sales, as well as how split testing could mean thousands of dollars of extra revenue for you. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed, organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the e-commerce world. And today's a special episode as it's a recording of what we just did live, Destaney and I, talking about search query performance from Amazon, whether you use it inside of Helium 10 or whether you use it in Amazon Seller Central. Like, how should you be using it? Because let me just tell you guys, it is the single best data point that Amazon has ever released. That's arguable, but for the research side, keyword research side, I think it's the single best data point that Amazon has ever released. And we're going to go learn the ins and outs of how you can leverage it in order to increase sales, even showing you an example of how we've been able to increase sales based on it. The other thing that we're going to be going over today is split testing. Just a little bit of conversion rate increase, click-through rate increase can have ripple effects that mean thousands of dollars extra of sales. And so these are two very critical things that will help you this year with your Amazon business. So let's go ahead and hop into it. Let's say that you sell 200 items a month. All right. What's that? Like 7 a day, 200 items a month. And let's say your conversion rate is 10%. Okay. Your conversion rate is 10% and you sell 200 items. So that means if your conversion rate is 10%, that means that, or actually we should go back to 100 because that'll just make it easier. That means you had 1,000 page clicks, right? 1,000 page clicks for one product, and you had a 10% conversion rate. Do this with your calculators, guys. You sold 100 products because you had a 10% conversion rate, okay? Now, what if you could increase your conversion rate, not like double it or anything like that, not like increase it by 20% or some astronomical thing. What if you could just increase it by 4%? All right. So those 1,000 page clicks, let's just say nothing else changes. Now with a 14% conversion rate, that's 140 sales a month, or you can consider a day. Some of you guys are selling 100 units a day. I was trying to pick something super conservative here. That's 40 extra sales. Let's say you've got a coffin shelf and that's a $30 product. That means just by increasing your conversion rate by 4%, you are increasing your sales by $1,200 per month. If you were selling 100 units a day, that's $1,200 per day. That means let's split that in half. Let's say 600. Well, you would have only had to increase your conversion rate by 2%. Conversely, let's say conversion rate doesn't change, but it's your click-through rate, right? So it's the same thing when we're talking about click-through rate, like how somebody sees you in the search results, and if they click on it, you're not going to convert everybody at any, regardless of what you do. There's nothing you can do that would make every single person who goes to your page buy. But let's say you don't even do anything with your conversion rate. You're only changing your click-through rate and having more people hit your item from search results or from ads, etc. It's a very similar effect you potentially could have when you increase your click-through rate by a certain percentage as well. So these kind of things are, I think, sometimes sellers, we sleep on it. We think about the hot, sexy things like PPC and advertising, which is very important, keyword research, and now a lot of people are thinking about AI related things, which probably doesn't impact as much as keywords, or definitely does not impact as much as keywords does. But these are the things we rightfully think about when we're thinking about optimizing and doing research. But optimizing for click-through rate, optimizing for conversion rate is just as important. Destaney, can you talk about that a little bit, even from general standpoint as well as advertising, about why CTR, CVR are so important?
Absolutely. I mean, driving traffic's the easy part. Amazon's driving all the traffic for you. They're doing a lot of the heavy lifting from an algorithm perspective. With PPC, all you do is select a few keywords. The traffic is the easy part, but it's getting people to convert. So who all has looked at your Amazon advertising keywords and you found a keyword that had 30 clicks and 0 orders or something along those lines? At the end of the day, the PPC did its job. It drove the traffic to your listing. You need to stop and ask, why are people clicking on my listing? They're obviously interested in your product. So why are they interested in my listing but not checking out? And that's where the conversion rate aspect really comes into play. Bradley and I spoke on a webinar with Amazon a few weeks ago, and there was a mason jar on the table. And it really got me thinking, a mason jar. What are the top keywords for a mason jar? Everyone was like mason jar, glass, things like that. It's really like, you can't differentiate it that much, can you? But then we started chatting about there's two different ways to brand a mason jar. You can sell it to a homesteading canning community who's looking for pressurized jars, or you could sell it to something like a wedding planner who is looking for barn decor. Now, think about the difference in that. You could make a listing trying to serve all of the audiences, making it as generic as possible, which is oftentimes what we see people do. They get caught up in all of the traffic and the volume opportunity and want to target everyone, thus creating a poor listing that doesn't convert anyone. On the flip side, you can really niche down and figure out that specific audience that is actually going to convert. This is incredibly, incredibly important. If you decide to create a listing for a specific audience and you can change your conversion rate from the 10% to the 14%, it's a small tweak. But you created a product to solve a need, and that's going to give you such a big competitive advantage. The traffic site's easy. Again, Amazon's doing the heavy lifting. PPC is doing the heavy lifting. It's getting people to not only click, but also buy. That can be rather difficult.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So with that in mind, before we get into the search query performance, the reason why I started with this is because we're going to do a live split test with an audience about some new creatives on an actual account. Destiny's going to be talking about this very account. It's an actual product on Amazon. It's this hemp pain cream account. But I did one last night, and let me show you guys the results. All right. They have some new graphics that they got from AMZ One Step, this company, this exact company. Let me share it here. And so I did a Helium 10 audience, which is powered by PickFu. I had done this here. I said, hey, if you searched on Amazon for a hemp pain cream, which of these images would most make you want to click on it if it came up in the search results? Okay. And so we had these three options, and then this is the one that was picked. And actually, this is part of the old one. And I already know what I'm going to do with this one. I'm going to run this through again, but I want to run this versus a version of that has both of these with the hemp leaf and this, whatever the heck this dirt is. I guess that has to do with hemp somehow, in the background, and then really make sure, is this the best image? But this is what you do, because like again, we might think, hey, this is the great picture, and this is what I want to go with, and we maybe only even have one option when we launch a product, right? Or when we're redoing our photography for a listing, and we just like, no, I'm just going to show the picture and that's good to go. But sometimes just slight changes can have huge impact. I mean, you could see even these three are all showing the same product. They're all white background images, and look how different it is. The score, 54 to 32 to 14. So there's clearly a preference here. Doesn't mean that if somebody saw this, for sure they're not going to click on it and definitely not buy it because this is the ugliest one. But is the conversion rate going to go down? Is the click-through rate going to go down potentially based on this? Absolutely. And remember, 1% up or down, 2%, 3% percentage points going up or down, it has a big effect on your bottom line. And so the reason I did this also was to get insight into why customers were picking this. All right. Because like, for example, somebody said here, I chose C because I think it's more useful to see the product, or even if it's a box, than a generic looking graphic of leaves. So like maybe I'm overestimating how much the leaves are important. All right. This person says, I like B's large close-up of the main item. It's good to see exactly what I'll be getting. All right. So this was one of their products. This is the actual product. This is a real product on Amazon. You can see the existing image. This is the winner, right? So far, but we're trying to see, can this be even improved on? This is a product that's been on Amazon for years. This is not just something you guys need to be doing when you have a brand new product, but like this person had the same image for years. You always should be making sure that it's still the best image. So what I did was I created a new one. Hopefully you guys can see this here. This is a different product that they have. This is a roll-on, like not a cream. All right. And then so the same thing. And this one, we actually photoshopped it into the search results. So it looks even more like, hey, this is how it's going to look in the search results.
I like B.
B. Okay. We'll see. I wouldn't have picked the one that won here. This is why we do this, guys. Like, you don't do stuff that you think is the best. You do stuff that customers think is the best. But here's the thing. Let me show you something I did so I can make sure that I am super hyper focused on this. And this is something that you guys need to do. Go into your brand analytics inside of Seller Central. This has nothing to do with Helium 10, guys. Go into your brand analytics and go to consumer behavior analytics and then go to demographics. What I did was I wanted to look at a whole quarter for this brand. What is the demographic makeup of my target audience? And unfortunately, Now it shows up. Last night this was not showing up at all. I had to download an Excel file for even this to work. But you see how it's broken down in age, and there's also stuff like, income and education. Most of this stuff was pretty even, like male, female was fairly even. But I noticed a big demographic here. I don't know if you guys can see 65 plus and 55 to 64 and 45. So 45 all the way up to 80s is like way more than 50% of this whole market. Like there's a whole bunch that you don't know. We don't know the age of the people, but like this is like 80% of the people who we know the age. And so with that, I'm like, I want to not just like ask random people I meet on the street who might not even be my target customer, but I went in and I said, using Helium 10 audience I went and I think I did. Did I do it? Custom audience. There we go. I can actually choose, do I want to talk to Prime members or not? And then the age range of who is in this group. All right. So this helps you get more accurate results by targeting exactly who you are going to be putting this poll in front of. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and start this, and we're going to let this run. And hopefully by the end of this, we're going to see the results and see, I think most people were picking A. And then B was like kind of like the second choice. So let's see if you guys were right. But Destaney, why don't you start from the beginning about search query performance, what it is? Because this is the other thing. Like, conversion rate is great. Click-through rate is great. But if you're not even indexed or ranking for the keywords that people will use to find it, the conversion rate and click-through rate is meaningless because there's nobody even finding your product.
Yeah, I'll kind of start high level here on how this ties into everything we're talking about today. A lot of what Bradley and I teach is combining analytics and speaking to the algorithm using data, and also just understanding your audience. And now that things like Search Query Performance Report are available through the API, it makes it much, much easier because now we have the first party data to say, this is how I am performing compared to the category. That part is really important because, as Bradley mentioned, all of us are typically way too close to the products we're managing. I see this a lot during conversations with the CEO and with the brand owner. No one thinks their products can be improved upon or is any better. So when we're able to access things like Search Query Performance Report, we're actually able to see, hey, this is my conversion rate compared to the category for this term. This is really important. There's a lot of variables that influence our conversion rate. It was asked earlier, is a 4-point improvement a lot? That's a 40% increase in conversion rate. Sounds like a lot. At the end of the day, it really depends on your category. So how many people know their category conversion rate? Again, first party data is kind of my preferred data. So that's usually what I'm referencing in this regard. But within Amazon Advertising Console, you can pull your overall category conversion rate. You can also use Helium 10 ads for this. And what it allows you to see is your conversion rate in the total category compared to the category median. So why this is powerful is if you are converting worse than the category, if you are not doing as well as your competitors, you are going to need to improve your conversion rate because you're getting the same amount of clicks potentially as someone else, but they're going to be getting that conversion rate. So if you don't know where this is, you can open up Advertising Console. You can go to Insights and Planning in the left-hand corner, and then you can click on Brand Metrics. And then once you open up Brand Metrics, you're going to see a small link that says View Details or something along those lines. And it's going to allow you to see how you are converting. Now, this is not just advertising data. This is retail data and advertising data. You're going to be able to see, hey, for my products, supplements, for example, a good conversion rate is typically around 40%. So an increase to 43% isn't too much. On the flip side, if you're in apparel, we've seen good conversion rates be anywhere from 4 to 7%. So you're going to open that up and you're going to compare. Are you converting better than the category? If the answer is no, you have a listing problem that you need to figure out. Is your price point much higher than everyone else's? Is your listing not that great? Do you have less reviews? That's kind of the first step in identifying where you have a problem. And I like to start at the category level. It's much higher. It's a better view. James, to your point, it's supplements is typically a category median of 40% conversion rate. I can showcase some of the data later on if we're able to pull it up. But that's a category where people have a lot of brand loyalty and you typically see it skewed by that. Again, flip side, apparel, maybe high price point products, you're going to see a really big difference in conversion rate. Now, the second thing you can see in that dashboard is detailed page views. So that's another thing we like to dive into. Am I getting a lot of detailed page views compared to the rest of the category? Yes or no? Once I understand those two answers, it's really easy to say, okay, here's where I'm going to make my next step of optimization. I personally like to open up the search query performance report. So if you haven't played around with Search Query Analyzer in Helium 10, it's fantastic. It's relatively new because Search Query Performance has not been available in the API until just recently. But what I love SQP for is it takes all of the broad category data we just talked about, your conversion rate, your click-through rate, and breaks it down onto the keyword level. Now, you can also see that we do have a summary. Once you upload an ASIN, it does give me a summary of total search volume for this ASIN. It gives me my impression share for this ASIN. So how many impressions out of all the impressions in this category am I winning? My click share, my purchase share, and the variance in conversion rate and click-through rate for my product. So as you can see here, I have a slightly lower click-through rate than what's normal in this category. And I have a pretty aggressive drop-off in conversion rate, which makes sense because that's what Bradley's working on right now. Now, that's just the summary. Let's say I want to drill down a little bit further. This is the viewpoint we have. Now, again, I want to highlight that this is first-party insights. This has never been available historically first-party. Brands or companies, like what we do at Helium 10, had to pull a lot of this data and kind of build their own algorithm behind it. Now that a lot of it's directly available, it makes it a lot more efficient for all of us to access it. So looking at search query, if you're in an account or in a category that has hundreds of thousands of searches a day, you're going to have a ton of data. This is a category that's oftentimes restricted. Once you get into CBD, hemp, things get a little bit tricky. But as you can see here, we're able for any ASIN to pull all the associated queries that are tied to that ASIN. I can then see search volume. I can see my search query score, which is how relevant these search terms are to my product, my organic rank, my sponsored rank, impression share, click-through rate, market click-through rate, conversion rate, market conversion rate, purchase share. In my opinion, two of the most valuable views here are what is my click-through rate compared to the market? What is my conversion rate compared to the market? And there's about 70 different ways that we can view this data. But a lot of what I like to start with is going top down by search volume, because that's going to be my biggest opportunity for growth. And then looking for differences in click-through rate. If I have a much higher click-through rate than my competitors, that means, my main image is doing something well. If I have a much higher conversion rate than my competitors, that's a huge opportunity for me to expand on and grow my market share. On the flip side, if my conversion rate is much less than the category, and again, we don't have a ton of data right now for this account. It's a smaller account in a restricted category. But if we want to play around with things like conversion rate compared to category and see if there's any opportunities or outliers, then we can dive in and figure out, okay, everything as you can see right now that I'm converting really well on is branded. That means I have good brand recognition off platform, but I maybe need to focus more on non-branded traffic, right? I can see that when we start looking into things that are non-branded, I don't have as much data behind it. And that's where it gets really fun, because if I can identify those opportunities, you can immediately make improvements directly within your advertising console. That's why this data is so powerful. If you find opportunities where you are converting better than the category, you can immediately increase your PPC traffic on that term. So I noticed CBD cream is a big gap in the market. I can create a campaign to win this #1 placement within 10 minutes. That's really easy to do. Just bid really high, exact match, top of search focus. And then I'm going to be able to start collecting more data on that term, which is going to help me analyze, am I still converting better than the category at top of search? That's really important because everyone's goal here is to improve their organic rank, right? That's the #1 value of being on Amazon, is getting all of the traffic and visibility once you improve your organic rank. So being able to work directly with Search Query Analyzer to make these improvements and implement them directly in ads is really, really powerful.
This is super important because I want to triple down on what she's already said doubly, which about is for how important first-party data is. Of course, there's always a place for Helium 10 data and estimations and things because Amazon doesn't give the information. But an estimation is just that, an estimation. It's like pretty accurate, a lot of the times, but there's always kind of like doubt by some people, like, oh, I'm not sure if how close this is to what's actually happening. But when Amazon makes available, that's what we mean when we say first party. When Amazon makes something available that tells you, hey, this is the number of clicks, this is the number of purchases. It's like this is the Bible. Now here's one caveat though. is it's not like all encompassing. All right. This data, you might look at your own data and like, wait a minute, I added up all the purchases I had over last week. It said there's only 100 and I sold like 250 items. Like, what's going on? Well, first of all, remember, this is what comes from search. Not only that, it's usually about like 30% of like the whole entire picture. And the reason is because it's limited in that it's only showing what comes from an actual search from a keyword, and not all sales come from keywords. Like sometimes people just click around, they hit sponsored brand ads from a search. That's not counted in here. They click back on their browser, then they buy something else. Well, that's not going to be, now all of a sudden that's not going to be counted here. But it's a great apples to apples comparison. You versus your own products versus your competitors' products in that like scenario of a purchase happening within 24 hours of a search without outside clicks and other things happening. How are you doing? And again, what she said, first party data. This is straight from the horse's mouth data coming from Amazon that I personally never in a million years would have thought Amazon would give. Like, it would tell us how many clicks a keyword had and what percentage, even my competitors, of the clicks they have, and how many purchases and how many add to carts that happened over, for a whole keyword. Like, never would I have thought that even for like vendors, Amazon would release this data. And they did, sure enough, 2 years ago.
Again, I start high level because it can be overwhelming to dive into this level of granularity. I mean, on the search term level, being able to see click share, conversion rate, impression share, things like that. That's why I think it's really powerful to start first with the brand metrics, insights, and planning. That's one of the most seamless ways to just, what is my conversion rate to category? What is my detailed page view to category? Once that's done and I know what I want to dive into next, that's where the search query analyzer comes into play. All I have to do is type in my ASIN, type in the date range I want to look at, and I can immediately see the highest volume in the category. And then, as you can see, it takes a little manipulation of the data, and I can start identifying opportunities. Now, let's say, again, I look at conversion rate or I look at the impressions, and I see a major opportunity to grow. It's super simple to then open up that keyword directly into your campaigns. And that's powerful because, as we all know, there's a direct correlation between Amazon advertising and organic positioning on the page. So when you're able to do something as simple as open up the campaign and launch it from one dashboard, that's really, really powerful. Now, someone asked about, I think CPCs was the question, being shown directly in this dashboard or bid. Hector, I would say the one downside I would have for that is you got to think the market sets the bid or suggested bids. So one day a suggested bid could be 40 cents. One day it could be $3. It's depending on the rate that the market is setting. So that's why it's really important to do your own bid management or be able to set your own rules or rely on an algorithm and not just see the CPC or bid that was related to that keyword, that search term. You can always launch low, and if it doesn't get impressions, increase as needed. So we typically like caution staying away from suggested bids anyways, because it is just an average on the page.
All right. So how can you start getting this data? Let's say you don't have Helium 10. How can you get this data? All right. Let me show you guys. I was already in that demographic section of brands. So everybody go ahead and do this right now. Who's in your Seller Central account. If you've never done this before, you go here to the left side, you hit brands, and then you hit brand analytics. And then from here, you hit the search analytics and then search query performance. Okay, and then you can look at the brand view or the ASIN view. Now, the ASIN view, you can only do one at a time. There it is right there. So I could like say, hey, look, let me see all of the sales I got in the month of March that happened from search. So I just do that right there. I can generate this download, or if I can just look at here and I can sort by my ASIN count of purchases. All right, and so here, this is showing me all of the sales that we got in March of these keywords. But this is not necessarily that actionable. Like what you would need to do if you don't have Helium 10 is you would download this. All right, download this, go back, take February's, download, January, download, December, download, November, and keep going back. And what you want to do is then add them all together using pivot table and VLOOKUP if you're an Excel whiz, and then look at, hey, what are all the keywords that brought me sales? This is the number one, the first thing if you have never done anything in search query performance. Take a look at the last 9 months for some of your top products and what were the keywords that brought you sales. And then this is just one product. So like I would do another product too. So I just said I would do 9 downloads. Well, I have another hemp product. One is the cream, one's the roll-on. Do the same thing. All right. It's tedious, but this is what everybody until last month has had to do who has ever used Search Grid Performance, is you just have to download a bunch of Excel files, but it's valuable information. You're going to find keywords that just randomly gave you a sale, perhaps, that you didn't even realize, like marijuana roll-on. Like, how you're like, some pothead here, I guess, was looking at was typing marijuana roll-on, thinking that you could buy that on Amazon, which I don't think that's allowed. And somehow, I don't know what, in an auto campaign or something, my product came up and we got a sale from it, right? Like, I might not have known that. Even though that's a forbidden keyword, marijuana, I'm obviously indexed for it. If I got a sale for it, I can actually target that in PPC. And so instead of it just being a random, where I just showed up randomly in search results, now I want to get sales from marijuana roll-on or green lady hemp roll-on, whatever the heck that is. All right. So this is how valuable the data is. Now, for those of you who have the Helium 10 Diamond Plan, this is what you are going to want to do. The very first thing, everybody go ahead and hop it up. I know a lot of you have the Diamond Plan. Pop it open right now. Let's take a look at the results so far. I think we have like half the results. And wow, look at that. 17 people have chosen A so far. 5 people have chosen Destaney's here, B, and only one person has chosen C. And I'm already seeing the things why. So it looks like whoever voted A is going to win this, perhaps. But this is still going on. Okay, so everybody who's got it, Search Query Analyzer in Helium 10, what I want you to do is go into your account and select month of, and then like just select like the last, I don't know, 8 months or so from August. All right. And then the one other advantage of being able to select multiple months and not having to do Excel files is you can select multiple products. And I literally just did this because actually the main product in this account ran out of stock about a month ago due to supply chain issues and selling too fast. And they're just going to get back in stock. And so this other product that doesn't sell a lot at all, I was like, man, I don't want the sales for this account to go to zero. What can we do where I can just shoot them up to the top of the search results for the less popular product and hopefully get some sales? And because of that, I was able to 400x the sales on the product that barely sold any. Like, we're not talking big numbers here. Like, it was selling like maybe like 2 a day. And so we went up to like 8 a day or something like that, right? But it helped me because I was able to target specifically the keywords that was driving sales to the other one, which is the product that we want to have the sales. But this was just a temporary fix. All right. So I selected this product and I selected these top 2 products and then hit apply filters. And then all of the data is going to come up here. Now, if you just like connect your token to Helium 10 right now, you might not be able to get all this data right away. It might take a few days. You'll get this message that says, all right, hey, load this data or come back in a day or 2. Mine is already loaded because I've had this connected for like 2 months. But right now, I can now do a advanced setting and do minimum my purchases, minimum 1. What does that mean? I'm saying, hey, for these top 2 products I have, for all of these 8 months from August all the way to last month, what were the keywords that brought me sales? And instantly, 115 keywords, 115 different keywords. And this is not a big account like Destaney said, guys. 115 different keyword driving sales. And the top ones, if I just sort it by my purchase, of course, it's going to be the keywords that I knew about, like CBD roll-on and some branded search terms here, etc. In motion, hemp pain roll-on, hemp pain relief roll-on. But as you start going down this list, you're going to start seeing keywords that you're like, oh, here's a misspelling, CBC roll-on instead of CBD roll-on. And here's some branded keywords from others. Like, usually you can't, steal keyword sales from other brands, but it looks like that's what's happening here. Sun State Hemp, somebody searched for, but multiple months, they ended up buying one of these in motion products. And so look at that. Here, 115 money-making keywords. Now, every single one of these keywords, or most of them, would have come up potentially in like a Cerebro search, right? If I said, hey, show me where this product anytime in the last 7 months was ranking high, but would you have been guaranteed that they drove you sales just because you were ranking highly at a certain month? It doesn't mean that you're going to get sales. This is first-party data saying these were the actual keywords that drove sales, and you could probably times this number by like 2. Like whatever sales is showing here, because again, like I said, it's a very limited amount of situations that they're showing the sales. So that's the first thing that anybody who has Search Grid Performance should do. And then what you do is you look at this data, and some of these keywords, maybe you didn't have many impressions. All right. So that's what I like to do. Like I had, like, look at this one, CBD gummies for pain. Now, I don't think this is going to be a big time conversion keyword for me, but how you read this Search Grid Performance, when it says search volume, this is not the Helium 10 search volume. This is how many people searched a keyword and then it counts it like multiple times that Helium 10 doesn't. Like, for example, if they click on page 2 of the results, that counts as one search. If they hit a product and then they click back on their browser, that's another search. So each search that Helium 10 counts as kind of like one, like search query performance is kind of counting it like 4 or 5 times, but it's still good at apples to apples comparison. But anyways, look at this, 9,000 searches, but my impressions for these 2 products was 214. What does that mean? That means like 90% of the time, I am not showing up on page 1 or on the top half of page 1, right? So if I got sales for this keyword and my conversion rate was good, how can this help? Well, I'll be like, oh shoot, I'm only showing up like 5% of the time. Let me bid for top of search. Let me try and boost my organic rank, because if I show up constantly at the top of the page, how much more can I increase the sales? And that's the way that you can look at this. For example, on the flip side here, here is a keyword right here, CBC roll-on, all right? CBC roll-on, the search volume was 3,000. My impressions was 4,000. Now you might be like, how in the world can you have more impressions than search volume? Well, first of all, I had 2 products here, but even if it was just 1 product, it's possible. And the reason is, if I have a sponsored product ad showing up in like the top 4 or 8 positions, plus my organic rank was towards the top, it means a lot of the times that somebody is searching for the keyword, my product is showing up not once, but twice, meaning I get 2 impressions. So on your best keywords, the ones that you show have a really good potential for sales and you have a better conversion rate than your competition, you want to be at the top of the page, maybe even twice. Like, let's take a look at this one. CBC roll on. Here we go. It says my conversion rate is 10% and market conversion rate is 6.78%. So what does that mean, guys? That means that I know that I just need to be visible and I am converting at a better rate than the market overall. And I want to double down. If this was switched, if my conversion rate, Destaney, was only 6% and the market conversion rate was 10%, and maybe I was on the borderline of maybe not even being profitable in advertising, would that be a keyword you double down on, or would you pull back?
I would probably pull back or identify an opportunity to improve my listing. I would look and be like, okay, is that relevant? Maybe people don't understand it's a roll-on, so they're not checking out, and I can maybe do a better job of showing utility in my listing. Like, that's where this is incredibly powerful, is you can start seeing the audiences that are related to each product.
Exactly. It's not like if I had a worse conversion rate for my main key in my products, like Coffin Shelf, right? I sell a Coffin Shelf. If Coffin Shelf, I had a really bad conversion rate, so like, oh, let me just pull back all my spend. My conversion rate's not as good. No, like I got to figure out why is my conversion rate, bad. But let me show you guys a real life example of what I did from last year. Obviously I didn't have Helium 10 last year, but thanks to this, I could just pull it up now. In the regular search query performance, before Helium 10 ever had this, in September, I was looking for this very thing. All right. So I'm just kind of reenacting it right here. Here is the month of September for the hemp roll-on cream. And then I saw a keyword here that it wasn't like, oh my goodness, this is like the best keyword in the history of mankind, but it was CBD roll-on. And I see a lot of people are asking, like, how in the world can you be even ranking for CBD related keywords? CBD is a forbidden keyword. It is. I do not have CBD anywhere. That's a separate training where I've talked about how I can. Exactly. It's a separate conversation about how you can be indexed for forbidden keywords. But anyways, that's not the topic here. CBD roll-on in the month of September brought me how many sales? 3 sales. All right. Nothing to write home about. All right. So I figure it probably brought me like 6 or 7 if you include the traffic of people clicking back and forth on their browser and stuff. But then I looked here and my conversion rate was 13%. You guys see that here? 14, if we round up, 14%. And the market conversion rate at the time was 11%. So as you can see from this column, this is what Helium 10, you don't have this in search query performance, but Helium 10 makes this calculation. I had a 2.5% better conversion rate. But then here is what really stuck out to me. Look at my search volume with impressions. So this was a keyword that I had better conversion rate, but there was 4,000 searches, about 3,700. My impressions from sponsored product and just organic was only 1,400. So less than half of the time that somebody searched for this keyword, I was showing up at the top. In other words, more than half of the time, I was not showing up. I was never seen. There was no impression. More than half of the time, somebody searches keywords. So what did I do? I went in and I doubled down on this keyword. I'm like, let me increase my bid. Let me get that top of search placement and hopefully my organic rank would improve. And then what happened when I look back in January? So here's January. I worked for a couple months. I'm working on this keyword, and take a look at that exact keyword here, CBD roll-on. And the first thing I'm going to show you is the impressions. You guys see the difference? 3,800 search volume. So the search volume stayed about the same for the month, but look at my impressions, 5,000. Why? Because I was showing up at the top of the page now in sponsored and in organic placements. Not only every single time that somebody ever searched for this keyword, I was showing one, sometimes two times. And then what did my sales go up from? Even though the search volume didn't improve, this is not like, oh my goodness, this is like a game-changing $1 million trick here. It went from 3 to 10. That's still like over a 300% increase.
That's
all right on this small keyword.
That's incredible. I mean, even just pausing, think about this across multiple keywords. You can see the power.
Exactly.
And the part that people don't always remember is that is going to drive an improvement in your organic rank. And you're going to have to, as your organic rank improves, you can pull back on ads and you're going to still maintain visibility and impressions. That's the relationship I think people forget about. You can invest in ads, improve your organic positioning on the page so customers are more likely to see you without ads. You could slowly pull back and you're still going to get visibility and sales, thus improving your profitability. But you have to get there first.
Absolutely.
Everyone forgets that they have to get there first.
That's 100% accurate. But guys, this was just one small real life example. And this account has many more. That was just the one I thought was really great to show the power of search query performance and how you could see what happens when you increase your impressions compared to the search volume and you had a good conversion rate. I was able to triple the sale. That's about 7 sales. This is a $40 product. It's like $200, $250. But now, like Destaney said, what if you could do that with 10 keywords a month? Double the sales or triple your sales. And what if it wasn't a small account like this one? What if you were selling 100 units a day? All right, that 10 or that 3 would have been 30, maybe. Now that 10 is going to be 100. So you would have gotten 70 extra sales on one keyword. And this is like what I've been trying to like I said to you guys, I'm going to Poland this week. I'm going to Bulgaria. This is part of my speeches is this is not hypothetical research. All right. A lot of people want to talk about what, AI can do for you. And AI can do stuff for you. Like I optimize my listings for Rufus, but do I have data that shows that people are buying my products because I was able to answer a question? I don't have any data. As a matter of fact, I have data that says that people aren't even looking at them. I still do it because I think it's best practice. Like if Rufus is asking a question that my listing is not answering, I want to answer that. This is not that, guys. This is not like, oh, maybe it's going to help down the road or who knows, how many people are using Rufus. This is literally the number of people who are searching this. Amazon is telling us the number of people who are clicking. Amazon is telling us the number of purchases we get and how much is increasing. Amazon is telling us this is the kind of thing, guys, you need to focus on right now. Like sometimes we're distracted by all this fancy AI stuff that we might see in people talk about, but this is still king, guy. King. Keywords are king. And because Amazon is giving so much data. So in the meantime, I'm going to throw up that poll to see where we are at. All right, let's hit load 16 responses. We're almost, I said I would get 50. And I think, look, we're already at 39 out of 50. And I just started this 30 minutes ago. And let's see the slow roll up here. Oh yeah. Option A is running away with it right here. 27 have chosen it. And then some of the reasons, like what I like seeing the bottle and box in the image and probably be most likely to choose this one. I like seeing both the packaging and the product. It makes me think they have nothing to hide. Interesting. I like how the box that it comes plus the product together side by side, it's more informative that way, gives you a better idea of what will be sent to you. Like these are things that maybe I didn't think were important to the common customer. I like option A. It shows the packaging and the roll-on tube so I can get a better idea of how large the roll-on surface is. Very good point. You see the original roll-on product, we didn't have this. I also like that the box is pictured so I can get an idea of how this will be protected when it ships. Another thing I didn't realize would be kind of like important to some people. But you see, this is that roll-on thing that they were talking about. This is the surface that you put on your skin. And so, yeah, now it makes sense. Now that I read that somebody might, if you just look at this box, you would have no idea, hey, what's the part that's actually going on my skin here? So again, what tool did I use on this? This is Helium 10 Audience, powered by PickFu. Anybody on this call, even people who have a free Helium 10 account can use this because it's a pay-per-use thing. But you guys can this product is out of stock right now, but it's the brand new packaging and everything is coming in next week. I'm going to be relaunching it with this image now based on this exact thing that I just did. And I'm going to be checking my conversion rate because who knows, my click-through rate is probably going to be better than when I just had, I don't even know what image I have on now. It's none of these. These are all new images. But there we have it. We'll keep this going just for a little bit more. I think you guys can see clear why we put both of these together and what kind of impact they can have on your business, optimizing your images as well as optimizing your keywords. So Destaney, thank you so much for coming on here. And thanks to everybody else there on this call for attending. And a few of you guys, I'll see you in Poland and Bulgaria in a few days. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.